Okay, good evening. It's 6 p.m., August 23rd, and I'd like to open the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for this evening. I'd like to announce that this meeting is being televised live on local cable channel 8, not 18. Changed. Wow. There you go. I didn't want to just say 8 because then you guys would have questioned. If you could all rise, we'd like to say Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So, next, does anyone have a public comment regarding anything not related to any agenda items tonight? If so, please check in with Mary Ann to my left, and you can have 3 minutes to make your comment. Next, I will also ask for public comment on each hearing tonight at the end of that presentation. I have a request from council, but I'd like to talk to Mr. Ford. Mr. Ford, do you have a problem if we take out of order here?
Absolutely not.
Okay. I'd like to just get a consensus of the board. Does the board have any problem taking out of order? So what we do is take 12 and 16 after 428, 35, and 35. Is that okay?
Sure.
No problem.
Yep. Okay. I do also have the triple M request for the extension of time, so that's mine too.
So. Okay.
Sure,
you okay with that, Mr. Ford?
We are. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
And I actually reached out to Attorney Ford earlier today just to put him on notice I was making the request.
All right, so if that being said, what I'd like to do is person sitting on the first, which will be 428 Monomoskoye Road, will be the 4 regular members and Brad. First, all right? So, Counselor, 428, please.
Read the hearing.
Oh, so let's see. I'm sorry. Charlie, you can read. How's that?
Sure, I can read.
There you go. We're doing the old skip.
Okay, August 23rd, 2023. New hearings, 428 Monomoskoye Road. Owners Thomas R. and Lori L. Fordham request a special permit under 174-17.1 and 174-33 of the zoning bylaws to raise a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling and replace it with a new single-family dwelling on property located in an R3 zoning district, map 124, parcel 52, Mashpee, Mass.
Great.
Charlie?
Thank you very much, and I appreciate the accommodation. Again, for the record, Attorney Christopher Corain representing Thomas and Lori Fordham. As noted in the hearing notice, they are proposing a raise and replace of their property at 428 Monomoskoye Road, which is located within the R3 zoning district. So they are seeking relief from this board under 174-17.1 and 174-33. The lot itself is wholly within land subject to coastal storm flowage, so we have 0 lot coverage for the zoning purposes, and we also have 40 feet of frontage, which is non-conforming in the R3 zoning district. So those are the lot non-conformities. The structure is non-conforming because it's 100% lot coverage, given the LSC SF. It is 0 setback to wetlands. And there is also a westerly side setback nonconformity of 9.4 feet. So those are your 3 nonconformities. Everything else is conforming. Mm-hmm. The current structure coverage of this project is 15.2%. Mm-hmm. What we are proposing to this board is to knock down the existing dwelling and replace it with a new structure which will eliminate the westerly side yard setback nonconformity, so it will become a conforming condition at 15.5 feet. We are actually reducing the overall structure coverage to 12.7%, so we're actually losing 300 some odd square feet of structure with this project, so we're actually reducing that percentage. The proposal has been approved by the Conservation Commission. The proposal will include an innovative technology septic system, which, so I think one of the microfast systems is being proposed. Because it is in the flood zone, we are going from a flood zone, a non-compliant flood zone building to a flood zone compliant building. We are also going to a building code compliant building. We're not creating any new nonconformities, and there will be dry wells to capture all stormwater runoff. And as I took some pictures of the surrounding house in the neighborhood, this would be very consistent with what's, the development in this area. So, under 174-17.1, this board needs to find, A, that there's no new nonconformities, there are none, that there's sufficient parking, the gravel driveway is more than sufficient to have 2 cars, and that we're not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than what currently exists. And so, again, the reasons I would suggest to this board that it's not substantially more detrimental are as follows. Proposal will be building code compliant. Proposal will be flood zone compliant. We are eliminating the side yard setback nonconformity. We're actually reducing overall coverage of structure. We are proposing a new microfast septic system. And again, this project will be consistent with what you see in this neighborhood. So with that, and Conservation approved it. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. And Raul from Cape and Islands is here. He's the engineer for this project, so he can answer any questions as well.
How did you deal with the easement going through the property? It looks like it's a gravel easement of some sort, meaning in reference to lot coverage, et cetera. I believe it has to be excluded from lot coverage?
Defer to Raul on that.
Good evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Cape and Islands Engineering. So yes, for the formally way of calculating lot coverage, the easements that are more than 20 feet wide are excluded for the area. So there are 2 easements here. There's one that is more than 20, and there's one that's less. Along the front of the property, there is the one that's wider, and then there's the one that goes all the way through the property, about a 10-foot width, all the way to access the water. So it does take into account that requirement of excluding those easements.
I'm only seeing one. Show me the 20-foot one, and that one does not have any dimensions on it.
There's an easement through here,
Oh, I see it, all right.
and then there's another easement to right here.
So I've got to believe, even though it's not depicted on the plan, the one that goes through the lot is not 20 feet wide.
Right, that one does not get deducted from the lot coverage calculations.
So did you deduct the one that needed to be deducted?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
And do you have any?
where's the other one? I see this one that runs all the way down.
It goes through like this. Right through here. See those 2 lines? I don't want to get close to you.
How do you think I feel?
You see it? And that's 20 feet wide, so he did exclude that. He said.
I have one question. Why is the shed in the middle of the easement?
It's an existing shed, that's just where it is.
Been there forever.
Okay, right, it's 2.6 feet, or 2 feet 6 inches, not sure which, from the line.
Correct.
It's supposed to be 5. Is there any way you can move that so it's not in the easement, number 1, and number 2, it's 5 feet away?
Were they planning on keeping it with the new project?
They do plan on keeping it, yes.
Yeah, is there any reason why you can't move it somewhere?
Is it on Cinnabon?
Let me see.
I mean, other than that, I have no issues whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's 2.5 feet shifting, and they can probably shift that with the.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, I don't know that we can get it off in the area of the easement. Just because that easement goes right through, but as long as, I mean,
Well, I'm not
as long as
sure
we're not-
structure is supposed to be,
well, as long as it doesn't,
Easement, is it?
as long as it doesn't prevent people from using the easement.
Well, so that's the question I've got, so I want to wait until you answer.
That's really a legal question, not a zoning question.
Well, I'm going to wait until Jonathan's satisfied with your answer, but I have some questions about the easement.
I mean, to get it off the easement, we probably have to move it closer to the lot line. And I don't think the board would want that. I mean, the easements, I mean,
well, you can simply remove it.
no. I don't think that was the intent of the homeowner to remove it.
Well,
I guess they could try to relocate it. I mean, I guess I would say this, I mean, when you're looking at this project overall, is the fact that the shed is 2.6, the substantially more detrimental given everything else that we're proposing.
well, I don't like the fact that it's in the middle of the easement. That's one.
All right.
The second one, I think it's too close. And it's a brand-new house. You're building a brand-new house.
And I'm not sure there's a need for it. I know it shouldn't be there.
Well, it could have predated any of the zoning that required it to be 5 feet off. I mean, it's not, this house was built in the 1950s. If that shed was built in the 1950s, it's a pre-existing condition.
I'm sure that easement's pretty old too.
But you didn't mention that as an pre-existing nonconformity in your presentation.
I didn't. No, I did not.
Right?
But you have the house itself is not, is pre-existing anyway, so.
Well, coupled on back of that, I think also, I really drive down Monomoskoye, I really want to get to that water. So that means I'm going to drive down that easement, because I may have certain rights to drive down that easement, which means I'm going to drive through that area that you're going to put a park car, and I'm going to tell you got to get it out of there.
Yeah,
I'm setting my access to that water.
I don't know who holds the easement. I don't know if that's.
Well, my point is, I mean, I always get concerned by paper roads and access, right? And I always get concerned by those, and I just hope that this homeowner understands that easement, it's still in place, and presumably it's still in place, and there may be people that have a lot of rights to that easement.
If it's an access, then I can't imagine.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously no one's raised it yet. No one's sued them for
Well,
it.
no, I get it, but you've got Monomoskoye Road there, and you got water there, and you got people who want to get from Monomoskoye to the water. What a better way than go down that easement? If it's a paper way, right, a paper road, you know what access means in that, so it could be a problem. I don't think it has anything to do as far as I'm concerned, because it's not going through a building, but it could be, you still have adequate parking, even if it does mess that up.
Right.
But I think it's imperative that the homeowner understands that there could be an issue with that easement. Right,
Sure.
people coming down Monomoskoye, going across their property at 2 in the morning, going to the water.
Right.
So I think that's a big one. I would not want my wife to be in that position, let's put it that way.
Right. I mean, we can certainly, if the.
I mean, I have an easement on my property, and I've got no structures in that easement.
I mean, if it's the board's, preference that the shed be relocated in order to get this project approved, then, I don't know that it's a zoning issue, and I don't know that it's, given everything that we're doing for this project, I don't know that this would be the tipping point of substantially not more detrimental, but.
Again, big project, nice upgrade. I don't see any reason why you just remove it.
Well, the only thing I would ask then, if it would be a condition to relocate or remove the shed, that I would not have to come back to this board to for a modification of the plan.
My only concern is where you plan on relocating.
Well, I would say if you put a condition on that it can be relocated to conform to the 5-foot setbacks and not in the easement.
And not create a new nonconformity.
Correct.
I don't want you going 5 feet from the ocean.
Oh, right, yeah, understood. I would say 5.
Would that satisfy your concern, what you just said? Okay. Board members, other questions? Brad, any questions? Board
Board of
members?
Health, okay with this floor plan?
I did not even get a chance to look at the floor plan.
Yeah.
Knowing you're sitting in the board, I figured you'd cover that.
It used to be your job.
Listen, I've moved up.
Three-bedroom system, correct?
That is correct. There was comments from the Board of Health, so I think they
I
just,
like to hear.
Well, we're gonna do that next. We're gonna read comments right in the record. so that's the-
The home office thing, they've changed their rules and everything. If they're okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Yep, they already said they are.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we read comments from various boards and committees into the record, and then we may have some more input, so.
All right, I'll read. Okay, 428 Monomoskoye Road, this is from the Board of Health. 3-bedroom house, septic is designed properly, no harm.
Within here is going to be 5 feet from the property line.
Conservation Commission comments. 428 Monomoskoye Road. This project was approved by the Conservation Commission. Let's see, anything else?
Any letters from the butters?
Not on this one.
David, you have any input?
I think that it's a valid point with the easement, it should not be blocked. Anyways, I think it's a Mass General Law issue, and that simply, sheds are made to be moved, and they simply can be taken care of from the building department with a zoning compliance form. And it's in a flood zone, so it does have to be tied down for buoyancy, so it doesn't float away. But that's a very valid point about the shed and easement. I have no issues with the proposal, with the house.
Okay?
How big is the shed? Does it fall under?
126, what's it, 126 square feet?
126.
If they move it, what size does it have to go on a foundation to be secured? Or is it a size that it can be just sitting on cinder blocks?
It just has to be tied down for buoyancy.
Yeah, but there's a point.
Isn't there
What
a
is it,
sense?
125, 126, how big is the shed?
126.
So it's a little over 120.
Yeah,
So it's got to be on some sort of footings, correct?
if they move it. Right
It
now it's
doesn't have to
existing.
be on footings, it needs to be, it can be on, it doesn't have to be on footings, no.
This has to be secured.
It has to be secured to the ground or to a tree.
Whoever makes the
So-
motion would seem to me, if we were to make a motion, make sure that we cover the fact that it has to be approved, that relocated and constructed in a method acceptable to the building inspector.
Yeah, and we can do it with the code of compliance norm that we normally do for sheds.
There you go. Any other board member have a question? Got it. Audience, anyone in the audience have either input or question in reference to this application? Okay, none?
Close the.
All right, so I'd like to get a motion to close the public hearing, please, unless there's any other questions.
I'll make a motion that we close the public comment section of this hearing.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor? Okay. So, would someone like to make a motion in reference to, so Brad's sitting, right, but you can make the motion.
I can make the motion.
There you go.
Okay, make a motion relative to 428 Von Muscogee Road. Owners Thomas R. and L'Oreal Fordham request a special permit under 174-17.1 and 174-33 of the zoning bylaws to raise a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling and replace it with a new single-family dwelling on property located in an R3 zoning district, map 124, parcel 52, Mashpee, Mass, with the following conditions. The board has determined that the applicant meets all the conditions of a special permit under Mass General Laws 40A, Section 9. Site plan, number 2, prepared for Thomas Fordham, project 428 Von Muscogee Road, Mashpee, Mass, sheet number 1 of 1, date May 15, 2023, drawn by WNH RLR, checked by RLR, prepared by Cape and Islands Engineering. Drawing title, Site and Septic Design Plan, stamped and signed by Raul Lizardi Rivera, number 46845, registered professional civil engineer, and Matthew C. Coster, number 52282, professional plan surveyor. Number 3, house plans. ICON Legacy Independent Builder, ProMod Homes, LLC, of 428 Von Muscogee Road, Mashpee, Mass. Order number 11317, dates 3/1/23, preliminary 5/5/23, final 7/19/23, revised final EV1, front elevation, EV2, rear elevation, EV3, left elevation, EV4, right elevation, FP1, first story floor plan, EL1, first story electric plan, FP2, second story floor plan, EL2, second story electrical plan. Condition on all town department comments read into the record, including but not limited to Board of Health and Conservation Department. And further condition under number 5, on the shed shown on the plan, conforming to a 5-foot setback and be either removed or relocated to an area not within the easement, and any movement to be approved by the building department. And number 5, any changes to the plans will require the applicant to return to this board. Should we exclude the issue of the shed from the changes? Yes. Excluding changes to the shed as set forth in the motion.
I would agree to that, yes. All right, so we have a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Papers?
Hey. There you go.
Paper there.
Do these plans have cooties on them?
Try not to touch much.
I didn't say you.
I think you meant it.
That one cannot be moved.
No, it's like built in.
Chairman, can I be dismissed?
Should I spray him?
Sign in the right place.
Thank you very much.
So if they can spray. No, it's a spray.
Try to not touch the paper.
He needs spray.
Wait till
Should
the,
use, he should garlic with it. Gargle with it, I mean.
Yeah, this is malt spray.
till they hand us things back, and then what's
Yes.
That's what I color my hair with.
Me too. All of us, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Give it to John. I'm not touching it.
All right, so sitting on the next hearing will be the 4 regular members and Charlie. Charlie, would you like to read the next hearing, please, which is 35 James Circle?
May I read both of them?
Yes.
Yeah, and then we just vote
Yeah.
separately.
Okay. New hearings, 35 James Circle. Owners Briggs Family Wealth Trust, Peter L. and Patricia A. Briggs, trustees, request a written finding under 174-17 and 174-33 of the zoning bylaws to allow for construction of an attached garage on property located in an R5 zoning district, map 71, parcel 46, Johns Pond Estates, Mashpee, Mass, and 35 James Circle, owners Briggs Family Wealth Trust, Peter L. and Patricia A. Briggs, trustees, request a variance under 174-31, name space requirements of the zoning bylaws to allow for construction of an attached garage and vary the side yard setback and lot coverage on property located in an R5 zoning district, map 71, parcel 46, Johns Pond Estates, Mashpee, Mass.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Attorney Christopher Corain representing Peter and Patricia Briggs, trustees, owners of 35 James Circle. I just want to make one note on the hearing notice. We're not looking to vary the lot coverage. The lot coverage is under the 20%, so even as proposed.
Are you looking to vary the side yard setback?
That's it.
Okay.
That's it. That's the only variance we're looking for.
So did the advertising? So we're probably going to have to, you're going to have to withdraw that aspect of it. I don't want to.
Because as I say, the proposal as put forth
So when we get to that point, you'll have to withdraw the request for the
lot coverage variance, because we're not looking for that. With me today again is, for the record, Attorney Christopher Corain for the applicant. With me tonight is Raul from Cape and Islands, also Peter Briggs, who is the homeowner. So we are looking for a variance of 5.6 feet off of the 15-foot setback for a proposed garage addition, which is shown here. The reason that we're seeking this variance is that given the severe slope of this property, it is a real hardship to put any type of addition anywhere but here. I've supplied pictures to show the steep grade from this house where the garage is proposed down to the water. I think Raul can confirm this for me, but there's almost over a 20-foot drop from where this garage is proposed all the way to Johns Pond. So to place this garage anywhere else on the lot would create a substantial hardship, financially and otherwise, because you'd have to, put it up on pilings, you'd have to bring in fill. It'd really be, a tremendous undertaking. So we do feel that it meets your bylaws definition for the ability to obtain a variance. We don't think that it's going to be detrimental to the neighborhood. I believe there's a letter from the abutter who's directly affected, fully supporting this application. We also have submitted for a written finding because the house is pre-existing and non-conforming. It's within 100 feet of the Mashpee Inland Bank. And also the front yard setback is non-conforming. We're not making it any more non-conforming than what's already existing, but given that there are existing non-conformities, we also need the written finding to alter a pre-existing non-conforming use. So Again, this is very similar to a project that I had approved by this board last year on 54 Bayberry, where there was a significant drop from the front of the property to the back of the property. So I think that, this request is similar to, something that this board has approved in the past. And, this is in an area that's a driveway already, so we're not, creating any more privacy issues or anything like that. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions of the board.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Did you say who's sitting on this?
Is this
You did.
Is this a one-car garage?
Yeah,
Yes, one car. So it's the minimal amount necessary.
there's a room above it. Nothing else. It looks good.
I'm not looking at the plan, Scott. You're saying there's a room above it?
Yeah, that looks good. They have a 6-foot clear opening, and
Yeah,
I'm sure Board of Health's okay with it.
there was a septic that was installed that's for 3 bedrooms. We're not proposing any bedrooms up there. I think the Board of Health had their comments on it with regard to bedrooms.
They softened what they allowed.
They did.
Yeah, Conservation, this was approved by Conservation.
It was approved by both.
I'm wondering why you didn't, I can't see existing contour lines, Raul. Why wouldn't you put contour lines real close together to prove your point?
You can actually see them. It's just that the whole front is flat, so it's not going to produce a contour.
I'm
But
still looking for them. I don't see.
Down the back, you do see grades
Oh, I
going
see, yeah, 40. I see 40, 48.
from 62 all the way down to 38 at the pond.
I see. Yeah, I get it.
That's deep.
Yeah, I see him.
It's a blue square, not a green circle.
Yeah, the front area is completely flat, so you won't see any contours on that. That's why we have spot grades elevations.
Is this garage door pitching to the street?
Yes. And we are proposing a dry well for the roof runner from this garage.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I provided pictures as well. I mean, you can tell it's
As one member, I feel that slope is a hardship. I think we've dealt with that before.
We go.
Yeah, I would like to get a consensus of the board in reference to the hardship. I tend to agree that it is a hardship. Does everybody agree with that?
Based on.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
I think that's important in the future in reference to variances.
Well, it's one of the 3.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Shape, topography, and soil condition.
Right.
All right, any more board questions? No? Okay, could I have letters read into the record, please? Whether it be
One.
board, committee, and/or
I'll read it.
letters.
All right, this is from Steve McAllister, reference 35 James Circle Garage. Dear Ms. Ramiro, let this letter serve as notice that as next-door neighbors of Peter Briggs, we have no issues with the placement of his new garage on his property. We understand that the ZBA may have some reservations regarding the location as it relates to the property line. However, the building will not negatively impact our property or our quality of life. In addition, the landscaping that Mr. Briggs plans to do between the 2 properties will provide an environmental upgrade over the current situation. We strongly recommend your approval of this new structure. Please contact me at, and I won't read the phone number if you have any questions. Best regards, Eileen and Steve McAllister, 31 James Circle.
And just for reference, they are this neighbor. So the garage is here and then that neighbor. So they're the ones that are most directly affected.
Okay. Conservation comments, 35 James Circle. This project was approved by the Conservation Commission. Board of Health comments, 35 James Circle. Board of Health says, change in footprint will require Title V inspection. I think that's it.
So I have one other thing to state, looking at the plans while Jonathan was reading that. On the westerly side of the lot, look at the timber steps, retaining walls, that's on another lot. Is it not?
No,
So what, that's not a lot line going down that center there?
no.
No.
The lot line is on the other, I'm not sure what you're referencing, Mr.
There
Chair.
are
I see
2.
it. It's got the L shape.
Yeah,
thing.
so what is that solid black line right there? That right there, what's that line?
This is the property line.
Exactly, so look at the,
Left of it.
so look, go to the left side, the left lot line, right there.
What is
You're-
that?
That's a retaining wall on the neighbor's property of the neighbor.
That's the neighbor's
That's the
retaining
neighbor's
wall?
retaining
And what about the one that's attached to the building here that's over the lot line?
Just
wall.
below that.
This box.
Yeah, it's over the lot line.
So there is a timber boxed wall that he does.
It's on the other property line.
Oh, you're looking more at the houseward?
Well,
To
this
the
board
left
historically
side.
has looked at, walls and sheds on other people's
Good
property
catch,
or
Ron.
easements that are not happy with that theory.
Yeah, that's an issue.
Yes.
Well, I have a question. Are we here to review that for tonight's hearing?
Well, we're approving the whole thing, and it's on the plan, and it's on somebody else's property. So
I thought we were approving their request.
Right. It really has nothing to do
Well,
with what's
yeah,
being
I
proposed.
agree with what you're saying, Billy. My only concern is if you've got the driveway going up and that's a retaining wall from the driveway and it's on someone else's property, how do they maintain it?
But that's not a zoning issue, that's an issue between,
petition to us.
ultimately between the neighbors.
Yeah, I
I mean, it's really not a zoning issue.
And it's a landscape, and it's not a structure.
what is the height, so that,
They could
That-
they could agree to, it's fine,
what's the height of that wall, Raul? It doesn't say the height. So how high is that out of the ground?
Yeah, I don't have elevations of that wall with me right now.
I mean, it could be a 5-foot wall.
Or maybe the homeowner can speak up on it.
Does anyone in the audience?
Hi, Peter Briggs,
Come on up, grab the mic.
Yes, and please, just give your name and your address, please.
Yep. Peter Briggs, 35 James Circle. I think you're talking about on the other side of the garage, the timbers that are there. He was just trying to show
Yeah,
it to
so
me,
facing
but,
your house on the left.
yeah. I didn't even realize that it was over the property line. That wall is probably maybe 1.5 feet, 2 feet tall, and it's just a faced wall with no return down the side. It's a timber that was placed against the wall.
So you don't, so it's not a
No,
square?
it's definitely not a
There's
box.
nothing going
It's
down
earth.
parallel with the lot line?
It's earth that comes over there, right there. It's not a box timber. If you go over and look at that, the timbers are open. So you have a grade that comes down, the face of the timber comes across and just stops. It's earth that comes down to the inside of that.
Does that show anything? there?
Unless there's a tie under the ground I can't see there, which I don't think there is. They're not tied
It's
boxes.
landscape. As one member, it sounds like landscape to me.
And it probably benefits both properties if it's, given the slope, so,
It's hard to tell.
It's not a fence.
requesting it to be removed could actually create more harm.
Look, I bring it up, if the board's okay with it, so be it, I just,
Charlie, what do you think?
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
Yeah, but from a legal standpoint.
It's landscape.
If someday somebody
Yeah,
objects
but it's
to
on
it, you
somebody
might.
else.
I'll cut the 6 inches right off. Matter of fact, when I go home, I'll see the neighbor tonight
So
and
why don't
talk
we
to him
just
about it.
condition it? Why don't we make this simple? The applicant's saying he'll take it right out, so
No
if you're willing
problem.
to take that right out, why don't
Yep.
we condition on the removal on the other person's property in reference to that piece right there?
Can I put some plants back in there to retain that bank that's coming down on that side of it? Would that be up to the
Between
neighbor?
you and your neighbor.
Yeah, perfect.
That's, a wall, I think, is a structure.
And you want to trim it
Not
down.
necessarily. Depends on the height of it. Dave doesn't have to inspect it if it's under 5 feet.
I've got a question. What do we call it? It's not a retaining wall, right?
It's not. It's a planter, is what it is.
I think we're better off not making mention of it at all as far as the condition. If you and your neighbor have a problem with it, you're gonna have to work it out.
I'll go and tell him tomorrow that it's on there. What do you want me to do?
It's totally fine with
I
me.
agree with Charlie. I don't think it's a zoning issue. I think it's landscape.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
I brought it up, it's fine with me. All right, so that being said, Mr. Morris, do you have any questions, issues, or problems?
I don't, I do, I could look at that, the timber steps is like a fence on the other side of the property, it's a civil matter.
Okay.
I don't have, it could be a zoning matter as well, but it's, something that's dealt with civilly in the civil court, but if it's there for 10 years, it becomes another issue. It's existing non-conforming. The garage, I agree with the topography issue end of this. For a variance, I think it warrants consideration for a variance, and I have no issues with the project.
Okay. Audience input. Anyone in the audience like to speak for or against, have any questions? Okay, seeing none. All right, well, listen, I brought the issue up. If you guys are fine with it, I'm fine with it.
I
reference
think
to
it's
the
a good idea
retaining
you
wall.
brought it up.
Yeah, and I think, I noticed it. I'm fine with it, I'm okay with it.
And we've discussed it.
Yeah.
We know what the discussion was.
All right, so at this point, I'd like to get a motion to close the public hearing. We'll deal with that aspect in the motion, if you choose.
I'll make a motion that we close public comment on this hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, do I have a motion in reference to the decision?
Question to Chris first.
Sure.
Relative to number 5 under the request for variance, you do not need a variance relative to lot coverage.
No, so I would ask the board to make a motion to withdraw the request for a variance as to lot coverage.
So are you making a request to withdraw?
Yes.
All right, so I'd like to have a motion made that we accept the applicant's request to withdraw his
Variance request, is it?
lot coverage variance request with prejudice.
So in other words, you can't come back.
Who's that? There's no reason to come back, would you think?
I don't think so.
Someone like to make that motion, please?
I can do that. I'll make it simple. I won't go through all of the, but relative to 35 James Circle, there's a motion made by the applicant requesting withdrawal of the lot coverage with prejudice.
Variance, yep.
Lot coverage
Variance.
variance. All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So now you can, now, there's gonna be two separate motions here. There's gonna be a motion for the first one and a motion for the second one, which is a variance.
The second question, relative to the variance for the side yard setback, what amount do you need?
I need 5.6 feet. So it's 15 feet is the setback, and we're looking to get within 9.4, so 5.6 is what the request.
So the first one will be the written finding under 174-17, 174-33, and then the second motion would be in reference to the variance.
All right, first motion is relative to the written findings. 35 James Circle, owners Briggs Family Wealth Trust, Peter L. and Patricia A. Briggs, trustees, request a written finding under 174-17, 174-33 of the zoning bylaws to allow for construction of an attached garage on property located in an R5 zoning district, map 71, parcel 46, Johns Pond Estates, Mashpee, Mass, with the following conditions. 1, the board has determined that the applicant meets all the conditions of a written finding under Mass General Laws 40A, Section 6. 2, site plan, prepared for Peter L. and Patricia A. Briggs, project 35 James Circle, sheet number 1 of 1, date May 26, 2023, drawn by WNHRLR, checked by RLRMC, prepared by Cape and Islands Engineering, drawing titled Garage Addition Plan, stamped and signed by Matthew C. Costa, number 52282, Professional Land Surveyor. 3, building plans, prepared for Briggs Residence, 35 James Circle, Mashpee, Mass, plan date 5/25/23, drawn by SPD, scale 1/4 inch equals 1 foot, prepared by designs by SPD, Pocasset, Mass. A1, proposed front elevation, rear elevation, right elevation. A2, existing first floor layout and proposed garage layout. A3, existing second floor layout, proposed section floor layout, existing basement layout, and garage foundation layout. Conditioned on all town department comments read into the record, including but not limited to the Board of Health and Conservation comments calling for Title V inspection. 5, any changes to the plans will require the applicant to return to this board. 6, the board finds that the proposed project is not substantially more detrimental than the pre-existing non-conforming structure to either the town or the neighborhood. And relative to that, and what should I call the wall?
A planter. He called it a planter.
A planter. Relative to the planter shown on the plan that encroaches on the neighbor's property, to the extent that that becomes an issue, will be resolved by the owner and the neighbor and not by the zoning board of appeals.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Okay.
Second one, 35 James Circle, owners Briggs Family Wealth Trust, Peter L. and Patricia A. Briggs, trustees, request a variance under 174-31 land space requirements of the zoning bylaws to allow for construction of an attached garage and vary the side yard setback and lot coverage on property located in an R5 zoning district, map 71, parcel 46, John Spons Estates, Mashpee, Mass, with the following conditions. 1, the board has determined that the applicant meets all the conditions of the variance under Mass General Laws 48, Section 10, Section 10, 2, site plan, prepared for Peter L. and Patricia A. Briggs, project 35 James Circle, sheet number 1 of 1, date May 26, 2023, drawn by WNHRLR, checked by RLRMC, prepared by Cape and Islands Engineering, drawing title, garage addition plan, stamped and signed by Matthew C. Costa, number 52282, professional land surveyor. 3, building plans, prepared for Briggs Residence, 35 James Circle, Mashpee, Mass, plan date 5/25/23, drawn by SPD, scale 1/4 inch equals 1 foot, prepared by designs by SPD, Pocasset, Mass. A1, proposed front elevation, rear elevation, right elevation. A2, existing first floor layout and proposed garage layout. A3, existing second floor layout, proposed section floor layout, existing basement layout, garage foundation layout. Condition on all town department comments read into the record, including but not limited to the Board of Health and Conservation Department comments calling for Title V inspection. Number 5, the board issues a variance for the side yard setback in the amount of 5.6 feet. Any changes to the plans will require the applicant to return to this board.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, so I understand other business, you want to now move into Echo Road?
Yes, please.
One second, I'm sorry. We have to do something else first.
Yes, we do. That's fine for me.
I'm sure you want this document, Chris, right?
Yes, I definitely do. Looks like I'm going to make it.
There you go. Well, thank Mr. Ford on that.
No, thank you. Thank all of you.
Exactly, well.
Seems every pen I take to these runs out halfway through the week.
Yeah. You need one?
Brad's got one here.
Oh, okay.
We're going to share it. It's a joint pen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brad.
Okay, so at this point, we're taking other business up with Chris in reference to 2941 Echo Road.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Attorney Christopher Corain, representing...
Excuse me one second, Chris. I don't know if we need a vote on this. You're going to require a vote on this?
It probably should. I'm requesting an extension.
So if we're going to vote on it, I will say at this point it'll be Brad and the regular board members. I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
Need to
guys.
vote on an extension?
I think you
Well,
probably
he
do.
wants it, so
Yeah,
we'll,
because it's in the permit that was,
So he's stepping out.
you stepping out? Okay, so it'll be 3 regular members and the 2 associates.
so last time we were before this board, we requested an extension to August 31st of 2023. We're not in a position to be able to get a CO by August 31st. What we're asking for is an extension to the end of the year, December 31st. Right now, there's pretty much, the outside of the building is pretty much done. What they have is kind of 5 major issues that they are still waiting on, basically still supply chain issues. So they need the panel in their gear for their electrical equipment. They need their lighting package, the flooring. They haven't got the fire pump for the sprinklers yet, and there's an elevator that's going in. So those things are still outstanding. So that's the necessity of the request for the extension.
Was our permit specific in reference to occupancy?
Yeah,
Or
I believe
completion?
so. I believe it was.
All right, give me a little background, because I don't remember this.
Yeah.
There's a time limit on this?
Yeah, the original permit that was granted by this board had a time limit, and I think we've extended it twice now. So, but it's near the finish line.
But you've done substantial
Oh, yeah.
construction, so.
Yes,
Can we
absolutely.
extend? Without,
I mean, it really wouldn't make sense to not grant it, because then you'd stop,
Yeah, no,
stop the
without
building.
what?
Without them being able to say you didn't follow the rules and.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Well, there are circumstances that were beyond their control. They first proposed a steel building, and that didn't work out because of the supply for steel.
So if it's at the
they
request,
changed.
if it's at the request of the applicant, we can continue to extend, is that correct?
I would say yes to that. We could extend indefinitely if we chose to.
I believe.
Or that you could ask them to withdraw and refile.
Yeah, but they're in construction, they're probably 3/4 done.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, so I.
Okay,
Yeah.
I still think we should ask for a longer extension.
Yeah, I mean, if the board wants to give a longer extension, that's fine as well, but
I think we should.
we think we can be done, but,
Well, here's the thing, I mean, I would rather see you not have to come back to this board again, but then again, I want to keep a short string, but, I mean, I
don't believe they're still putting a time constraint on themselves. I
let's be
think.
realistic in their requests, and then don't come back again.
all right. So do you want to go shoot for like March 31st?
I would.
Well, I'm gonna go out to the audience and ask if there's any other comments, or any comments, but at this point, it seems to me to make a realistic request and then, get it done. That makes sense.
I
to the board,
agree.
Instead of coming back again.
I mean, we could do it for 1 year to August 31st.
No, that's not good foolish either. We could do it for 5 years too, and.
No.
I think March, what you
Yeah.
propose March
Okay.
is.
All right, so that being said, are there any letters or any correspondence in reference to this request?
I didn't see it.
Anybody in the audience like to talk about this? Oh.
I thought there's a reason why
I was looking out
the
there.
chief was here. Didn't know what, now I know.
Hi, good evening. For those who don't know me, my name is Jack Phelan. I'm the fire chief. So I know 3 years ago, August, this board approved the extension. One of the stipulations when they were doing the construction of the building was they were allowed to put in temporarily 2 wings that are non-sprinklered, which technically doesn't meet the fire code. But we allowed that, and I think the town allowed that, with a way of assisting them to move forward with the project. 2 months ago, all my groups, while they were actively doing construction on this new addition, with it substantially in the exterior being done, they toured the site and everything was going fine. We had a good visit. We looked at their whole plan, and we were satisfied. A couple of weeks ago, I went by and I saw that the whole project site has now been circled by fencing. Everything's overgrown. All the equipment's been removed, the construction equipment, and there's nothing going on at the site. So myself and the deputy visited the site today. My only concern is, and this is about information sharing, I have no problem with the extension. My problem is we did give them an extension, and we are allowing them to have 2 wings attached to the building which are not sprinklered, which don't follow the fire code, 527 CMR and NFPA 13, because the main building that was originally there is sprinklered. My concern is that we're going to continue on with this non-sprinklered section. What I've heard today was there was a plan, and I just want Attorney Corain to just let you know where I'm coming from. There was a plan that they're trying to, they may come before you to ask to continue to keep those, and actually after they build the main building, keep those wings. And I just want to emphasize to the board that I need everything sprinklered, which means if they're going to keep those wings, they're going to have to do some substantial modification to those 2 wings to get them sprinkled to be compliant with NFPA 13. That's my concern. I was concerned today to see nothing on site. Everything completely circled up, all the brush is overgrown, and I was told today, I did reach out, and I spoke to the COO, I think, and she explained to me some of the supply chain issues with regards to the elevator. I didn't know about the other 4 items, but I just want to express to the board that if they do present, and I don't happen to see the ZBA announcement, that they want to do a modification or want to add those 2 wings as part of the original plan, that the fire department be notified, of myself or my fire inspector know about this, because I have concerns with that. We've gone a long time. We've gone 3 years now with those buildings not being in compliance with the fire code, and I want to make sure that we're working towards that.
So that concerns me now, right? So now we got to rethink. Say again?
It's very concerning.
Yeah, I remember this whole presentation.
Yeah, because they
I
asked,
remember that.
we originally went for, I believe it was 1 year.
Yeah.
Because they were going to start construction away. And again, with the death of one of the original founders of this, it changed some things and we allowed it to continue on. But now we are 3 years past that August 2020 meeting, and we're still not substantially done. I did ask if there's a financial component to this, and they said that no, it's definitely a supply chain issue. I just want to make sure that we keep an eye on it. The fire department's going to keep an eye on it, and I just have concerns with that. And
Counsel, I have a question. You were asking for the end of December?
Yes.
Can you make the end of December at all? Can you, it would seem to me, with the knowledge that we just obtained, and I do remember the application very clearly. I remember what happened in reference to those two sections, and I understand completely now. But what concerns me is there's no one there, right?
Yeah, why is it fenced and why are the weeds growing?
I can't answer that question.
Nobody that can do anything there?
I can't answer that question. I know, as Chief Fales said, he's talked to somebody there, and they, you know, I mean, I could certainly, if the board, the problem, if the board were to approve, I mean, certainly, you know, I can tell, you know, put a condition on it that they need to clean up the site or mow the, you know.
Here's my thinking as chair. I think we should agree, I'm okay with the December date, and you know what? If you don't meet the December date, come back, we'll have another conversation.
Right.
I'm hoping we don't have the conversation, but what the fire chief just gave to me is knowledge, or this board is knowledge, I think we gotta keep our thumbs on it.
Sure, and that's
Not only that, we have to make sure that we see something moving in the next 4 months.
Well, that's why, I mean, December they come back, nothing happened, I think we have to reconsider it. But
I
at
mean,
this point-
I understand, it's hard for them to move forward without the elevator, because that's a big component of that building.
Right.
And
Because they have,
the fire pump that they can't into espresso.
But I also get your, you know, I think we're here, we're not going anywhere, December comes around, you have other issues, and we'll have another conversation. I'm hoping we don't have to have that conversation.
Right.
Willing to have it, hopefully fire chief will come back again at that point, if we have another conversation, and we'll have another conversation with him.
Right, well, I think at this point, given the chief's concerns, my recommendation to the client would be, before requesting another extension, he have a meeting with the chief.
That would be a good thing. But I'm hoping we don't have to go there.
and I will say, the COO who I spoke with today, she was very cooperative and offered a lot of
And
information.
we want this business to thrive, we get it, we totally understand, but we also have to do it in the best interest of the town of Mashpee, right? And that's number one.
Right.
So that being said, you bring these issues up, I think it's imperative. At this point, I think I'd accept a motion for the end of, what was it, December 30th?
December 31st.
31st. And
I agree with that.
And at that point, we'll revisit, hopefully we won't have to revisit, but if we do, there's gonna be a different way of handling it.
Sure, understood.
Thank you for your time.
Chief, thanks for the comments.
So I'm going to follow the same procedure as if it was a new hearing, so I'd like to, oh, I'm sorry, Raul, I went to the audience, I didn't realize you wanted to speak.
I'm sorry about this, Raul from Cape and Islands, but yes, to follow up on the statement from the chief, just to clarify that it is not rumors going around. So there was an attempt for keeping the back wing, that was a temporary wing. I did receive at the office those instructions from the developers, but just last week they reversed their actions, and I was asked not to revise the plans to keep that back wing. So as far as my understanding as of last week, that rear wing is going to be removed.
Well, thank you very much.
If they just, either way, they'd have to bring it back before this board
Yeah,
for
no, I get
review.
it.
So I don't want to.
David, what did you get to say?
We're all very aware, I was aware of this 2 months ago, that there was gonna, like, they asked, the construction supervisors said that they were wondering if they could keep that. I said, absolutely not.
I mean, we want to work with businesses,
Right.
we want to see businesses thrive in our community. When you have the fire chief coming in and raising issues that concerns us,
Absolutely.
hoping, you know, December will go great and everything will be done, but we understand, I think, where you're at, and again, we want to work with businesses as best we can.
Right.
So.
No, understood. And given, as I said, these are the first I've heard of the chief's concerns, so I will certainly relay these to the client.
If December doesn't look good, I would highly recommend sitting down with the chief, and that way work your issues out.
Absolutely.
But the other thing is, are they gonna have those buildings removed by December 31st? That, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it has been shut down in every aspect about those buildings to be remain. They're not built to building code standards, they're just on slabs. They were built as temporary with the idea that they're coming down. I can't believe that, you know, that they're perpetuating the idea that they're gonna be able to keep them, because they're not.
Well, again, I'm not here for the wings at this stage, and I've heard what, you know,
But the completion of the project is the demolition of that. So are they gonna be able to do that by December 31st? That's my question, and I don't believe that's gonna happen.
Okay.
Well, but then they can come back, we have another conversation. It's worth spending the time and effort, I think.
Yep, understood.
Okay? So, all right, so we just, did we vote on closing the public hearing? All right. Anyone else in the audience? Yeah, I remember Raul stepped up, right, Raul? Correct. Anyone else in the audience? All right, I'd like to have a motion to close. I'm calling it a public hearing, but call it what you will. We'll close the hearing. Have a
Okay.
motion to close?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we close public comment
Okay.
on this particular hearing.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we have a request in front of us, an extension till December 31, in reference to 29 and 41 Echo Road. Someone like to make a motion?
Sure. Relative to 2941 Echo Road, motions before the board to extend the time to complete construction to and including December 31st, 2023.
Do I have a second?
Hold
Go
on one
ahead.
second. Did you want to put in the fact that temporary buildings be
The building should be
removed by
complete by
that date?
December 1st.
Well, that's
They should
the whole
be-
job, though,
they
right?
should have a
It's part of the
CO.
permit.
That's part of the permit, so.
The takedown of
They
the,
should have a CO by December 1st. That's my whole point. I don't think they will, but, yeah, they have to have it completely, the project needs to be completed and with a CO by December 31st. I don't think you're giving them enough time.
So you can amend the motion if you'd like, I can't make you, but it is state in that motion that it says that the project will be complete and a CO issue. And the only way that gentleman, I presume, is gonna issue a CO is if those two wings are torn down.
Absolutely. It's
but
already been-
that's
So
in the,
completion of the project means C of O issue.
right, and that's, but that's already stated in the
Yeah, I agree.
permit,
So
so.
that's, it's being redundant, but
Well, you know, the applicant seeking extension of time to complete the construction.
Which-
Completing the
Which means
construction
that
is
the
all
temporary
that.
buildings have to be removed.
Yeah.
And you have to have fire access, everything has to be approved by all departments.
Exactly.
I don't see that
So
happening.
if you just state, Charlie, that C of O issue,
So they're gonna
he'll
come
make
back.
sure those things happen.
So relative to the completion includes removal of all structures to be removed in a fashion acceptable to the building department.
Yeah, and all.
And the new construction being completed
With a C of O issued.
with this.
And then he can control a C of O and make sure everything else happens. That covers everything, really, right, David?
Is that okay?
That's fine.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you very much, and again, appreciate the accommodation.
Okay.
See you in December.
I'll see you guys before then.
Okay. So are you back?
Yeah. I just had a little issue.
So, Mr. Ford, at this point, I'd like to state that, so the people sitting on this one will be the 4 regular members and Charlie and Brad, if you want to read it, is when we're ready, okay? So at this point in time, let's see, that's who will be sitting. Brad, would you like to read this next extended public hearing, please, which is 12 to 16?
Okay, continued hearing, 12 and 16 Papaneset Island Road. Owners, the Papaneset Island LLC, and Jonathan Bernstein, trustee of 16 Papaneset Island Road Realty Trust, request a special permit under section 174-17.1 and section 174-33 of the zoning bylaws to raise 2 existing dwellings and construct 1 new conforming dwelling on the combined lots on property located in an R3 zoning district, map 105, parcel 265, and map 105, parcel 266, Mashpee, Mass., continued from the hearings dated July 26, 23, at the meeting. Request with the board.
Hi.
Good evening.
Feel free, Mr. Ford.
Thank you. So for the record, Attorney Mike Ford, I'm here for the applicants for these 2 parcels. With me is Raul. Also is Andy Seaford, who's the architect for the project, is with us tonight as well. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, when we were last here, the matter was continued at the request of the applicant for a couple of reasons. First, the Board of Appeals wanted to seek some guidance from Town Council on the process that we had proposed in our special permit application. You may recall we were proposing to raise and replace 2 non-conforming structures, each of which is now on a separate non-conforming lot, and construct 1 new house. We indicated the building inspector had approved this process when we did file. Some of the board members, however, took the position that the lot combination, because we were seeking to merge this into one lot once we go forward, that we needed to do that first. I indicated that that would create a zoning violation. We'd end up with two houses on one lot, and we'd lose our nonconformity. And a couple of board members observed, yes, and you'd need a variance. So it was decided to submit the issue to town council for some guidance. Not being privy to, obviously, the discussions between board members or the chair or the entire board, I'm not sure how that occurred, and town council, I will tell you that town council did reach out to me as well, specifically. First thing he asked me to do was to put down what I thought the issue was and what the material facts were, in addition to the application we had already filed, in a short memo. And I did. It stated July 20th, 2023. I did not send it directly to him. I didn't think that was appropriate. I sent it to here at the town hall. My understanding is it was passed on to Mr. Costello. Subsequently, he called me, and we had a discussion and walked through the memo. And he indicated that based on the fact that there were non-conforming conditions, both in terms of wetland setback, lot size, and lot coverage, most importantly, lot coverage, on each one of the existing lots, that he felt that the petition could move forward as we had proposed, that no variance was needed. And that obviously, he said, I'm not weighing in on whether the Board of Appeals decides to grant the petition or not. All I'm doing is weighing in on the process. But he indicated that he would be speaking, or had spoken, Mr. Chairman, with you or other members of the board, and indicate that opinion. So not knowing exactly what got communicated from Mr. Costello to you, that's what got communicated to me in my conversations with Mr. Costello, that the process that we had followed was indeed a proper one, and that our application was properly before the board for a special permit. And then it was up to the board, obviously, to hear it, decide it, and decide what you would do with it. So
he did state a very similar statement to me.
Okay.
And he followed it up with a letter to this board, which will be read into the record.
Okay. So secondly, if I may then move on from that issue to the other reason for the continuance. It became clear to me that there were, when I inquired, there were a couple of board members who felt that the 28% lot coverage that was being represented even by the larger lot was too much, and that we needed to take a look at the plan and see if we could do something to lessen that lot coverage figure as it pertained to the proposed new structure and improvements on the site. So the team did work on that. We did submit, Mr. Chairman, as I hopefully all board members have seen it, a revised plan, both a site plan and revised building elevations. I also submitted a cover letter, Mr. Chairman, dated August 18th, 2023, where I tried to highlight what the changes were that the plan had gone through. If I may, I'll just not read all of that, but highlight that particular letter. First, there were changes in the grading as it proposed in the flood zone with Raul's assistance, and we were able to, as a result of that grading, and we already had a prior approval from FEMA for the grading, to come up with 43,776 square feet outside the flood zone. So that was now our buildable upland figure from which we could then measure our lot coverage. Secondly, we reduced the size of the pool. We reduced the size of the spa. We replaced covered porches with open patios. And then we revised and reduced, or the architect did, I should say, the west wing of the house that involves the garage. Those revisions resulted in a total coverage of 10,494. Our prior application was 12,235. As a result of those changes, the lot coverage now stands on the merged lot at 24% as opposed to 28.8%. The existing lot coverage on those two parcels combined is 22.5%. So the proposed increase now is 1.5% as opposed to 6.3%, which was our original application. And so, in addition to that, we also were able to improve the setback from the flood zone to 17 feet from 7.5 as measured in the original application. And one setback, side yard setback, improved slightly, and from 19.2 and the pool to 16.9. So that leaves us with, if this was granted, two non-conforming lots in terms of area would be gone because we offered a condition, obviously, that if we were to go forward, there would have to be an 81X or an 81P plan submitted to the planning board and then submitted to this board for your file, along with the building commission to show one lot. That lot would conform with the area requirements. The proposed improvements on the property would still be non-conforming in terms of lot coverage. It would be an increase of 1.5% over what already exists, 22.5 existing, 24 being proposed. And then there are significant improvements, around 1,500 feet of building area that are being moved out of the 50-foot setback. So we get better in that regard from wetlands. Mr. Chairman, you will hear when you ask the board members to read into the record, the Conservation has approved this. Actually, they approved the prior one. We'd have to go back with this one, but given the fact it's a shrinkage, we're confident that if this board sees fit to grant this with conditions, then we would go back and I think that would probably be an administrative approval. Board of Health weighed in, and you'll read that letter, that the septic system is adequate for the proposal. So, Mr. Chairman, we think that we can meet, particularly now with the reductions that we've been able to achieve working since the last continuance, to a project that you can make a finding is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. The only person in the neighborhood that has responded, that has reached out to us, is Leslie Caffin. She lives out on the point. If you're looking at the properties, it's to the left. She sought me out after the last hearing and communicated she wanted to see more of the plan she has. She's met with the representative of the owner, and she indicated that she is all in favor of one house. She doesn't want to see the lots developed individually with two houses, and she was in favor of the plan. It was our understanding she had communicated that to the board through Mary Ann, but we'll hear that, I assume, when you get to that point, Mr. Chairman, in the hearing. So in terms of the neighborhood, that's the only thing we've heard back, was that there was support to make this one larger lot, have one house, and to get rid of the two lots and the potential for coming in with each lot separately and building new houses on each lot. So that's our overall presentation. Raul is here to answer your questions with respect to the changes in the site plan. The architect is here to answer questions to the extent there are some with respect to changes in the elevations and the plans that were brought forward last time. So that's our presentation after the continuance.
What I'd like to, if it's okay with the board, is read in letters, i.e. timeouts, or whatever I think would make sense at this point, so we can all gain that intelligence.
May I have an extra copy? May I give that to Mr.
Certainly.
Ford if he has to see it?
Yes, certainly. So who would like to read that letter into the record?
I'd be happy to.
There you go. And any other records, any other letters, please?
Well, first of all, relative to the Board of Health, as Mr. Ford indicated, Board of Health, no comment. Septic design fits location and regulation. Relative to the Conservation Commission comments, the project was approved by the Conservation Commission. And what we have is we have a letter relative to 12 and 16 Papaneset Island Road from Town Council July 21, 2023. Good morning. Town Council's opinion with regard to the special permit application for 12 and 16 Papaneset Island Road appears below from Town Council. Upon full review of the documents forwarded and research of case law on the subject of merged lot nonconformities, I do believe that the relief requested in this raise and replace special permit application is legally permissible, provided that 1. The ZBA finds that the change, extension, alteration, or reconstruction of the pre-existing nonconformities, parentheses, as they existed with respect to the 2 prior lots' structures, close paren, are not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the pre-existing conditions of the subject lots. Number 2, there is sufficient land area on the new/combined lot to provide sufficient parking. And 3, no new nonconformities are being created unless authorized by a variance. I see that both lot owners are listed as applicants for the special permit, which is beneficial, because if the special permit is granted, there will have to be a condition, open paren, as proposed by Attorney Ford, close paren, to remove the common lot line and place the lots into common ownership by recorded instrument. In essence, the ZBA should identify and itemize each nonconformity that currently exists with respect to the 2 separate lots. Determine what nonconformities would be created with respect to the proposed use structure on the merged combined lot, and then determine whether any new nonconformity is being created with respect to the merged lot. If the new lot structure only alters, extends, or changes a pre-existing dimensional setback or other type of nonconformity, the board can apply the section 174-17.1 standard noted above to decide whether the special permit should issue. If, on the other hand, the lot merged lot/new structure would create a new or different nonconformity, the applicant would have to obtain a variance before the raise and replace special permit can issue. I don't see any legal issue with the application, and it appears that appropriate documentation has been submitted to the board for its review/action.
Are there any other letters from anyone that need to be read at all?
I don't have anything other than correspondence from Attorney Ford, which pre-existed tonight.
Anything else?
I think we all have.
Okay.
Did you hear anything from Leslie Caffin?
I did, and she couldn't be here because she does visit her daughter. So, but she just, just wanted to know what the site was.
Did she give any yay or nay, or?
She didn't say anything.
I think it was said before that she was pleased that it's going to be 1 piece of property as opposed to 2.
Right, I was just wondering if we heard that.
Well,
Never hand.
she clearly knew that we were hearing it tonight, so.
But we didn't.
Yes,
So-
exactly. All right, so board member questions. I have a couple, if I may.
I have a couple too.
I do too.
On the structure.
All right. Why don't you start?
Okay. It shows the height, the ridge at 35 feet, which is the max. I would like to condition it, as one board member, with Dave, that they do a height certification when the house is framed, because, and I don't think Raul would have any problem with that. I don't see why anyone would have a problem if it's built to specs. But we've had some issues with houses being built, you've been a foot too tall, and that's not a good thing.
Understood.
And if this is a lot of framing, a lot of structure, if it's done right, it can get over by a couple inches easy.
Understood.
One more item, this is a question actually for the architect, Mr. Sidford. And I'm not sure if it's just the way the CAD drawing, you might have to look at page A201. Do you have the full plan in front of you?
I think he has them on board, so maybe he can.
Okay, it'll be easy for me to point out, I just don't want to go up. I got a
What was the
bad
number?
head- A201. I get a
8201.
bad head cold and I don't want to get near people. These people don't want to be near me either, but
No, I wasn't going to approach.
I can explain it really easy. And it
okay,
might be
we're
just
not
something
even-
on the CAD drawing. Okay, yeah, I can see it. All right, so you've got your 35 ridge height, which is pretty much those towers.
Correct.
If you look at over the front entry, that dark line, that gable.
Right in the middle.
Yeah, what is that?
That was a skylight, so that's easy to come down and be in the roof plane. And we would certainly agree to a certification.
Need a mic, please.
So that, I see the glass roof section.
For the record, this is Andrew Seifert. He is the architect. If you want to just say what you said to him so people can hear it.
Sure. My name is Andrew Sidford. I'm the architect, and to answer your question, that's a skylight that sits up, but it's quite easy to do that in the plane of the roof
Yeah, I see
as
that
well.
part of the structure. I don't see it as a, like we do, I don't know, David, how would you look at that? Would you look at that, like, we don't call, not Widow's Walks, I don't know, senior.
Widow's Walk.
Cupolas.
Cupola.
We haven't counted cupolas under 10 by 10, or whatever the size was, as part of that height restriction, so would that fall under that category? Would you call that part of the structure?
First I looked at it, honestly.
It just jumped out at me that it's
Yeah.
above that ridge line.
It was a little bit easier to flash, but as I said, it's easy to put that down in the roof plane.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying it's a skylight, but I don't know how big the structure is.
Is that part over, is that over the,
I mean, is there a roof?
carport? Is that what it is?
You don't have an overlay of the roof. I'm just concerned it's a large structure that's above 35 feet.
Absolutely.
Is that oval on A103? Okay.
Well, the
That's A203.
definition is.
It's not a very large structure. You can see it's probably about
Oh, yeah, it's an interesting,
4 feet wide.
Right, the definition is a structural member holding up the house.
It's not structural.
how would you compare that to a cupola? Because a cupola is allowed to be above.
It seems like it's laid on top of the roof, am I right?
So a cupola wouldn't be structural either.
Unless, the only time we've had issues with it, if there was a third floor, is that just clear story down to the second floor? It's not a third floor standing space, so maybe it would fall into the category of cupola. Because it doesn't appear to be that large. We've had people do these clear story,
Yeah.
4 walls with transom lights.
This is it here.
Yeah.
So that's looking down from above.
This is a roof plan.
Yeah, I don't really have much of an issue if that's what that is. I just saw it on the gable and it jumped out.
So if you're in the house and you look up, you can see the sky.
Correct.
Do you see that blue section? That's all glass roof, correct? That-
All
that's a
that
proposed-
blue.
Proposed.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Any other comments? Questions?
No, but I'm concerned about that 35 feet being that it's,
All right, well, if we were to make a motion, ask for a motion, we'll make sure it's included.
that's all I had.
Billy, I know you had something to say?
No, I just wanted to make sure that when we talk about the 35 feet, you know, our town council has made it very clear that we have to look at the nonconformities on the 2 existing separate homes.
Right.
And then the nonconformities associated with the
Proposal.
proposal. And that nothing
Exactly.
has been created as a
Right.
new nonconformity.
Right.
So I would like to know what the nonconformities of each of the individual homes are and the nonconformities associated with the new structure.
Okay, so I outlined those in
I'm
the
sure
letter
it's
that I sent to
somewhere.
town council on July 20th.
Yep.
So for 12 Pompanesett, which is on page 2 of that letter, which was Lot 2 as part of the application,
Yeah, I don't think we have that letter. At least I don't.
I don't.
it
But
was
go
sent,
ahead.
it was sent to the board. Can I?
I outlined them all, because you asked me to do that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right here?
No, that's the August letter. That's the new revised plan. They got better in that. But here's the proposal. Here's what existing non-conformities are per lot.
I just want it read into the record.
You want me to read it in?
Yeah. That'll be great.
And then I'll give you this letter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd rather have a board member read it. May I see that for a second?
Let me just take a look.
You have that, don't you?
What the existing
Yeah, she has it.
nonconformities
Yes.
are versus the new.
Yep. So, Marianne, can I see that for a second? The board can read that in, no problem. I'd rather us read it in. So, very simple. So, existing Lot 2, existing Lot 4A, and then proposed. There you go.
I think that's important.
So
Yeah.
that being the case, if there were a motion to be made, or do you want to read it in no matter if it's a motion or not? We'll read it in right now?
I think you should
All right.
read it in so.
Well, it's part of his
Yeah, that's fine, no problem. So here we go. So we're going to read that right there.
And Mr. Chairman, the proposed got better than this. This is back the
Exactly.
initial.
We read that, all right.
So we're going to, so what we want to do then is really read just existing. How's that?
Yeah, A
So
and
we'll
B.
read A and B.
And then we can read the proposed new one.
New one. Okay. Good point.
So if somebody reads that box.
All right, I'll read this part. Okay, so, let's see.
Let's go to page 2.
This, yeah, I know, but I need to set it up first. This is a letter from Ford and Ford Attorneys, 72 Main Street, West Harwich, Mass, dated 7/20/23. And it's in regards to the existing conditions. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, A, existing, number 12, lot 2, I guess Pompanesett Island. Existing area above flood zone and landward of bank equals 19,710 square feet. Structures, including garage, comma, house, comma, deck, comma, boathouse with side stairs and deck equals 4,177 square feet. Lot coverage, 21.2% lot coverage. Portions of the existing single-family dwelling are located within the required 50-foot setback from wetlands. Thus, the following nonconformities exist. Lot area, comma, lot coverage, comma, and setback from wetlands. Okay. B, which is existing 16 Pompanesett Island Road, lot 4A. Existing area above flood zone and landward of bank, 19,930 square feet. Structures, garage, comma, house, comma, deck, comma, boathouse with side stairs and deck equal 4,729 square feet. Lot coverage equals 23.7% lot coverage. Portions of the existing single-family dwelling are located within the 50-foot setback from wetlands. Thus, the following nonconformities exist. Lot coverage, lot area, setback to wetlands.
Now, Mr. Chairman, I should tell you that attached to the letter were the diagrams that I presented to the board on the first night that showed the extent to which the existing structures were in the wetland setback and the area of them. If that's important for you to get in your motion too, those specifics are there. What Mr. Forbes just read, is I just said existing single-family dwelling is located within the 50-foot setback, but I did actually send town council the plans that showed the amount that was in.
So I have 3 or 4 questions in reference to the site plan. Do you have something else?
I did.
Go ahead.
Are we finished with this?
Nothing in,
That was up to Bill.
That's the existing.
Yep.
Is there something else to read in?
Well, I think what this member was asking is, are there any other? There's no height nonconformity, so we've got to stay within the 35 feet.
right. Are there any front yard, side yard, or front yard, side yard, or frontage
Well-
nonconformities?
There's the lot area, lot coverage, and setback to wetlands on both, correct?
No.
Yeah,
Raul,
so-
it's just
yeah.
confirmed for
Yeah,
me
there's
that
none.
there
That's
aren't
the
any
existing.
others.
So there's none that exist and there's none being created.
That's correct.
There you go. Okay.
That was
So I
my
have 3 or 4 questions on the site
All
plan.
right.
Number 1, and I think this is for Raul.
All right.
So I have a question, Raul.
Just pull another
You've
chair
got
up,
a-
Raul.
You're showing an overflow pipe? I'm sorry.
Let me get him up here.
Yep. first time sitting in this board, I'm actually viewing an overflow pipe in reference to your drainage, in reference to your roof drains. Why do you have an overflow pipe?
So the designs of this downspouts, we always have that overflow from the downspout before it goes into the ground. That's when excessive rainstorm comes down, the water that backs up out of the dry well has that overflow instead of backflowing all the way up to the roof.
So, this is deja vu. What storm event did you design?
So this is the 25 typical storm event. But what we have is on the yard, we have some low spots, so any overflow goes to yard drainage. So if you notice on the grading for the plan, there's a couple of spots with low spots.
So you designed to a 25-year storm?
And that's okay with conservation?
Yep.
We've got to change our regs. It should be, in my opinion, it should be a minimum 50. But I mean, we're happy, whatever, I don't even want to get into it.
That's okay with conservation, right?
Yeah, well.
It was approved by conservation. I think what
Just
Raul
doesn't
is saying,
make
though,
sense
is...
to me, when you're trying to keep water on a lot and you design to a 25-year storm, my God, I think 25-year storms are getting so.
It's not our call.
No, the overflow is
Well, I don't know, I
typical
mean,
downspouts.
I think it is our call, especially when we're getting into areas that have all kinds of water problems, right? We say that water has to be kept in the lot, but let's move on to the next thing. So, I think I'm okay with this, but I think I know it's a question of actually David, the zoning enforcement officer. On the general notes, the finished floor elevation, finished floor L, shown herein is based on an assumed 1 inch lower than the surveyed threshold elevation. An interior inspection of the buildings was not performed.
I can answer that.
So
I think that's a question for me rather than from Dave. So what we do when we do a survey and the property is closed, we don't open the door to get into the house to measure the first floor. So what the surveyor, when he goes to the site and he takes measurements, the closest he can get is the threshold at the doors. So we assume that 1 inch below that threshold is the finished floor inside the house. So that's why we put that note. It's for the existing measurements that we have. If you look at our plans, the existing conditions reference a finished floor. That note references that existing condition, because the surveyors don't always, most of the time, don't have access into the inside of the house. So the best they can do is measure the threshold.
Are you okay with that, David, that note?
It sounds reasonable.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
And my last comment, solar coverage. So I know it's pre-existing, non-conforming, 22.5 shown on the site plan. Okay, historically, this board, when you have a pre-existing non-conformity lot coverage-wise, we try to have you not exceed that in your new design proposal. But you're going from 22.5 to 24.0. So you're increasing your non-conformity, right? Lot coverage-wise, this board has almost always, and I can't remember once when this board's ever allowed you to exceed, or an applicant to exceed, the pre-existing non-conformity.
Ron, do you see the structure coverage down the bottom?
Yep, I do. I'm actually looking at the actual definition of lot coverage, though, because
Right.
the whole lot isn't in flood zone.
So the existing structure coverage is 13.7.
Yeah.
Proposed is 15.9.
Yeah, so it's,
We've gone through this for the last,
but this is a different one.
So-
Because the whole lot isn't in a flood zone. So you've got to really use lot coverage.
So I do remember
not sure
when
we've done that in the past.
I do remember when this board made this comment. There's going to be that case when there is upland above the flood zone and beyond the wetlands, and there was that comment between the board members. There's going to be that project where we're not seeing the whole lot in the flood zone and 100% lot coverage.
Right.
What are we going to deal with that? So the first one that I recall was 25 Tyrone. About 2 months ago, that property,
I looked at that.
under the old regulations, it met the lot coverages, but after revisiting this year, that project was before this board, and only accounting the area that's above the flood zone, which took away practically half of the upland out of the equation, was at 35% lot coverage, and it was approved to go up to 40%.
How much of this lot, percentage-wise, is in flood zone? Roughly. Just roughly.
44, oh. What's the total lot? He'll get it for you.
Well, I have a question for you while I'm looking at the site plan, and I'm looking at the black line that kind of goes around the property, except for out in Pompanesett Bay. And I noticed that the black line goes out into what looks like the wetlands. Is that correct?
Where it says salt marsh, over that area?
Yeah, I'm looking at the left side over here.
Okay, I'm looking at the other side.
Kind of perpendicular to Captain's driveway.
This one?
Yeah, you see it over here?
Yeah.
No,
I think we've
you're
got an-
including that as lot.
So
I think we should hold,
Two-
we're asking you to do two different things.
I'll take it, yeah.
Well, I know, but I'm just trying to,
So to answer the first question, so discounting the flood zone, but still, counting the flood zone, but still discounting the wetlands, which was the other method of calculating it, we're at 67,600 square feet of upland. So we have from 67 to the 43, so we have about 14,000 square feet of the land subject to coastal storm flowage that we're discounting.
23,000.
it's over.
23,000.
23,000.
Right.
Of upland that is
So
now
I can
not
see
able
how
to be
your
counted.
argument could hold up in reference to the other lot.
So that's, and my question comes back, are you including that wetland out there as part of your lot, of the 67?
So the definition of the lot includes all this wetland, but the 67.
That was the question.
No,
The 67 does not count the wet.
we don't count the
I
wetlands.
understand.
Yeah. But it is part of the legal lot.
We went through this on 25. I agree with you.
We did, but my theory, so when I take the theory and expand it, so let's just say somebody came in with a 30-acre lot, and in that 30-acre lot, they're gonna go from 20% lot coverage to 23. Somewhere the lot coverage theory comes out of sync because of size of lots and/or floodplain involved in that lot. It doesn't stay in sync. And when you have a lot of this size, which is very rare to see this board to come in front of this board with a lot this size, especially in Pompanesett and/or New Seabury, right? This is unheard of. So when you get that, and you start looking at these lot coverage percentages, okay, different theory. When you have a 15, 20, 30,000 square foot lot, and you're dealing with lot coverages, and upland and wetland, et cetera, as compared to this, it is not totally in sync. Take it and blow it out of proportion, you see what I'm saying? And this is a little bit out of proportion. I'm saying that when you go from 22.5 to 24% on a lot this size, proportionally, that's a lot of lot coverage.
Or you go, just to counter that, you go from 23.7 on a 19,000 square foot lot
Yeah?
to 24.5. You're going up.
Yeah, on a 19,000 square foot lot, that's substantially smaller than something on a lot size. That's all I'm saying.
I understand.
We need to understand there's a different theory when you get into a lot this size.
Which is
That's all I'm
exactly
And
why,
we
Mr. Chairman, if I
very
may,
rarely-
which is exactly why we took your comments to heart when you looked at 28 on a lot this size and you said, no way. And I polled, you allowed me, or the then chairman allowed me to kind of poll people, and they all said,
Yeah.
you got to move that number.
So my question is.
So we went back and did that.
I don't know if you've got there yet, and I thank you for doing that, because it certainly
Well,
showed.
we were at 6.3, and now we're 1.5.
I
We
get
tried
it.
to really get right down to it.
I totally understand that. But this board has to find that this lot, or what you're doing on this lot, is not more detrimental to the neighborhood. As one member, I'm trying to get my head around that.
Yeah.
Whether as one member, I can say yes to that,
Yeah.
right? Because I look at this, I look at lot coverage, I look at the size of the lot coverage, right? And I'm trying to get around the fact of, can I actually find that this application is not more detrimental to the neighborhood? That's my problem. That was the problem when the first time you came in, and you made an attempt, reduced it, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not sure for me if you're there yet. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so I hear you, and I'd ask you to make sure you take into consideration the improvement within the 50-foot setback from wetlands, which is dramatic. And we're only able to do that by bringing the house back the way that we have on that site and getting the two houses that are closer to the water out of there. And so I'd ask you, when you're trying to figure out whether it's substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, go back and look at those sketches again, because that's where the dramatic improvement in the setback has occurred.
And one other thing, when you tie your driveway into the abutter's property, I presume you have the approval to do so, because you're actually depicting your driveway going onto the lot on the right-hand side, right?
There's an easement over that.
Yeah. There is, yeah.
Okay.
We have that
Show the plan. That would be nice. If you did show that easement on the plan. Because you're showing, you know, is there adequate parking? Well, yeah, there's adequate parking, and you still can get to it because you're showing it off the other area, which is off a private way.
Right.
So your actual public parking, you're parking off a public way, you don't have, technically, per this plan, because I don't have the easement. You see what I'm saying? Your parking, which is in the northerly section, is off a private way.
Yeah.
So your parking, which is off a public way, Papaneset Island Road, is connected to a driveway off of your lot.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if our easement there,
So you
I don't know if
technically.
that easement allows us to park there. It's just access
No,
onto
no,
our
I'm
parcel.
saying, access, your access
right.
for your only, so your access that you have is off a private way on the left-hand side, which is the northerly side, and on the southerly side, okay, it's on someone else's house, a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get there to park.
You're losing me, Ron.
All right.
So the address of 12 Papaneset,
Let me just help. See this this driveway right
So
here?
the access
That's
for
off
this
of this
one
private
is
way.
off
They
of
don't
this
own
way.
private
Yeah, it's kind of,
But then
I've
this
been
one
there.
So
is
they technically don't have a right to use that.
Pompanesett?
And this one goes to someone else's lot.
This is Craft's entrance. So it's the same family.
But you know what, dad sells it, and all of a sudden he says, you can't use my driveway. You know, like, it has a driveway.
So if you want us to,
But he's showing it on the
if you want to add a condition that we provide a copy for your file of that easement, and the continuation of that easement be a condition of the permit, we're happy to do that.
It's
so you have an easement
clarify
to go on
that
that.
that driveway is existing, and the one to the south is proposed.
Right.
Right.
My concern is the existing is on a private way.
The
So
existing's on private property, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, it's depicted as a private way.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was going to its.
But that's the easement, correct?
That's the easement.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
and
have a copy of that.
so
To make Ron happy.
Yes, we can get it to you, or make it a condition that we provide it to the building commissioner.
Okay.
It's both of them are like that.
Yes. I mean, we have to find as a board that there's adequate parking. How do you find that, well, if you supply that
parking
that
is
may
not in the
satisfy,
way.
how do you,
The parking
how
is
do
in
you
the garage.
provide adequate parking when there's not adequate access?
Well, there is.
I agree.
Okay.
Well, I'm agreeing that there probably is if you supply us with the documentation.
Okay. So we will provide you with a documentation that there is legal access at both entrances.
Okay?
All right, so help me out here, David. What's the required number of parking spots on a residential lot?
It's two, isn't
I
it?
thought it was two.
So
Oh, we said
what is
four.
it, garage,
Right.
hold 2 cars,
It's a 3-car,
3 car?
Then there's like a little carport also.
And there's a lot of places to park?
There is. There's a lot of places to
You
park.
get a lot more than 2
Ron,
cars in there.
I think that's it.
No, but here's my point, guys. You can't get there from here because you're going over my property. You're not going over my
But if
property.
there's
so
an
you can't
easement,
park there.
if there's an easement.
There's an easement.
I'm okay with that, as long as he provides us with that easement, I'm
Let's
okay.
condition it.
But if he didn't supply us with that easement, then we wouldn't have adequate parking.
Understood.
Yeah, that's all.
So that's part of the,
Yeah, documentation of the existence and the continuation of the easement.
and to the
driveway.
For
property.
access.
Property to the right, if there's a lot number. How's that?
Condition on that, Joe. Yep.
Yeah,
All right, so. Any other comments from the board?
well, I'll say that I think it's an odd-shaped lot, so I think that plays into it. I like the fact that you did lower it. And I think, just as you said, and I forget the address, what was it, 25
Tides.
Tide Run?
Right.
Same deal.
Right.
I don't have an issue.
Okay, David? Anyone else on the board? David?
Well, I'm confused with the boathouse. I mean, I hate to bring that up because an accessory building seems like we're dwelling on accessory structures today, but that's added to the lot coverage. It's not part of the dock system. Is that being, any proposals? Is it there? Is it staying, or what? I'm a little confused by it.
It is there, it is staying, it's getting remodeled, and it is counted in the lot coverage.
Okay. Yeah, we counted it. Yes, it was
I'm missing it.
included.
Where's the boathouse?
In between the two
Right
lots?
here. Right here, look at the very beginning of the dock. There's this triangle there, and an arrow to it saying boathouse with deck above, DEP SE 433180. Right there.
Yeah. Yeah, we included it as coverage.
So we made a lot, I hate to bring it up, but I was just confused.
Is
by
it included?
It is included.
Is it included?
Yeah.
It is included.
The answer.
Yeah, it's existing, right?
Jonathan mentioned it on the,
When Mr.
during
Furbush
the
read the
during the-
nonconformities,
Boathouse came up a couple
it's
times.
described boathouse right on that lot, 12,
Yeah.
and we included it for coverage.
I wasn't personally concerned about it because existing. Right there. See the line to the boathouse? It's right there.
Oh,
That's
that's it.
existing.
Yep.
Boathouse with deck above.
Yep.
It's already there.
Yeah.
All right, so audience input, anybody from the audience? Okay. Wishes of the board. Do we want to close the public hearing at this point, meaning public input? Like to get a motion to close public input? So moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Do I have a motion in reference to the
I
application?
think you do. Let me,
Go left, Charlie.
let me go and see where we go, okay? Ready? Okay, 12 and 16 Papaneset Island Road, owners of Papaneset Island Road LLC, and Jonathan Bernstein, trustee of the 16 Papaneset Island Road Realty Trust, requests a special permit under 174-17.1 and 174-33 of the zoning bylaws to raise 2 existing dwellings and construct 1 new conforming dwelling on the combined lots on property located in an R3 zoning district, map 105, parcel 265, and map 105, parcel 266, Mashpee, Mass, with the following conditions. Okay. Let me just, and this is kind of an off-the-motion conversation.
Work in progress.
Since we are dealing with a special permit and not a variance, first, I think we have to move to find that we are dealing with a special permit. Because there are 2 ways this could have gone. If there was an additional nonconformity, then you would have had to proceed by way of variance. So,
Right. Right.
so in my motion, I should conclude that there is no new nonconformity.
Well, that's part of the record.
And I
We
have-
asked the applicant, he said
and I
there's
have-
no new, yeah.
And there's
Thank
no
you. That's what
request
was
for
all
a
over.
variance.
Yeah, there's no request for variance, so
So
that's
I'm-
part of the actual.
No, I'm just
Yeah,
wanted to get.
If you want to include that, you
No,
certainly
I wanted to
may.
get the cart before the horse, so that's fine. The board has determined that the applicant meets all the conditions of a special permit under Mass General Laws 48, Section 9. 2, site plan. Prepared for the Papaneset Island LLC, 12 and 16 Papaneset Island Road, Mashpee, Mass, sheet number 1 of 1, date March 27, 2023, drawn by WNH LAC RLR, checked by RLR MC, prepared by Cape and Islands Engineering, drawing titled Site and Septic Plan, revisions 42423, recalculate total area for lot coverage to discount coastal bank areas, note boathouse DEP, number SE 43-3183-5423, revised zoning table to consider FEMA case number 23-01-0275C 81723. Revised grading, house, pool, patios, and lot coverage. Stamped and signed by Raul Mazzardi Rivera, professional engineer, civil number 46845, and Matthew C. Costa, professional land surveyor, number 52282. Building plans. J. Craft Residence, 16 Papaneset Island Road, Mashpee, Mass. Schematic design scale 1/8 inch equals 1 foot. Drawing number A101. Floor plan level 1. Overall option A102. Floor plan level 2. Overall option A103. Roof plan A201. Exterior elevations. A202. Exterior elevations prepared by Andrew Sidford Architects. Condition on all town department comments read into the record, including but not limited to the Board of Health and Conservation Department comments. Condition upon verification of building elevation.
Ridge height. Yeah, the ridge height. The roof ridge height.
Roof ridge height to 35 feet at what point in time?
Just during construction.
Prior to
Skylights are exempt.
Yeah, I thought it might fall into, I didn't know the skylight looked at the gable.
But
I mean, the
they
front
are
elevation.
exempt. It goes to the ridge with
After
a point.
After Mr. Sifford explained it, made total sense. So.
You could say the highest horizontal structural member.
And just has to be supplied to you before certificate of occupancy.
At the frame, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if they
Why
were
don't you just
smart,
say
they would do
building
it
house
on the frame.
certification to be issued to the building inspector and, what, frame inspection?
Yeah.
Frame
That
inspection.
would be a smart way to do it, because you don't want to find out at the end of the job.
Exactly, we don't want to get ahead of it.
Building height certification supplied to the building inspector at the time of frame inspection.
There you go.
Very good, very good.
That good with everybody?
Yep.
That's good.
So where'd you go?
It's already in.
Back.
You said it.
Did you cover all?
No.
Sorry, he's not there.
Any changes to the plans will require the applicant to return to this board. The board finds that no new nonconformities are being created. The board finds that there is sufficient land area on the new combined lot to provide sufficient parking. And the ZBA finds that the change, extension, alteration, or reconstruction of the pre-existing nonconformities as they existed respect to the two prior lots and structures are not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing conditions of the subject lots. And next condition is that the common lot line proposed must be removed and the lots placed into common ownership by recorded instrument prior to the beginning of any construction.
Does that cover everything in Pat's letter?
I think everything else in Pat's letter is covered.
Did you mention, Charlie, no new nonconformities?
Yes.
I did, yeah.
You did. Very good.
Mr. Chairman, I had two conditions, which are kind of what Charlie read. I had them in a little more detail, that prior to a building permit, common lot line between the two lots be removed by the recording of a perimeter plan under Chapter 41, Section 81P or 81X, and a copy provided to the building commissioner and the Board of Appeals. And then I had a second one, prior to a building permit, placing both lots in common ownership and provide copies of the recorded instruments to the building commissioner and the Board of Appeals.
Isn't one the same as both? Isn't that the same?
No, one's the deeds and one's the plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
So I offered those, they were in your record.
Yeah.
That's
I'd be
fine.
happy to give them to,
Sure. You want to read them in that way?
Let me
Good.
read them in that way. That's good, thank you.
You just say what he said.
All right. And a condition, the decision is subject to remove the common lot line between the two existing lots by the recording of a perimeter plan under the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 81P, or an 81X plan as required, and providing a copy of the recorded plan to the building commissioner and the Board of Appeals. And also conditioned upon the placing both lots in common ownership and provide copies of the recorded deeds to the building commissioner. and the Board of Appeals, and condition on the documented existence and continuation of easement and driveway access on both driveways shown on the plans being submitted to the building department and to the zoning board of appeals prior to the issuance of the building.
Okay. I don't think there's anything else you included. Everybody else okay?
I think,
all right.
Yeah, we have the no substantial detriment, we have everything else.
Yeah. So we have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Which one?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, all those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
Good job, and
Thank you.
thank you for doing the work to bring it to what we needed to.
Yeah. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do it.
It's huge.
Okay.
Nice presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's get all this stuff over here.
I don't know if
That was a lot of work we did, coming back to Saratown.
I think they did very well. I have personal opinion.
I don't think that'll go in a plan. That's just gonna be an easement, so I can initially
I
easement
was
when I see
unhappy
it.
with
I
the
wanna
lot
read it.
coverage aspect, but in consideration of everything else
So
we
as
did.
soon as you get it, I'll.
The criteria of what can be done.
Yeah.
So where are we at this point? We addition, approved minutes for August 9th, 2023. Would somebody like to make a motion on that?
Make a motion that we approve the minutes of August 9th, 2023.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So additional topics, I just want to say a couple real quick things. Went in front of the Board of Selectmen in reference to zoning changes and all those types of various things, meaning, I think there was like 4 or 5 proposed zoning changes. David and I were actually both there, and gave my opinion, and I don't know where they're going with it, but there were some actual modifications and amendments that didn't make any sense. There were some that made sense, et cetera, small houses.
Who proposed these zoning changes?
So they were proposed by the planning board, they were proposed by individuals, and the selectmen asked myself as chair and David as the zoning enforcement officer to come in front of them and to talk about what our thoughts were. Pretty straightforward, I don't think there's.
Is it gonna go in the town warrant?
Some of them will, some of them as amended will, some of them won't, because some of them, the language just totally did not make sense. I mean, it just.
So I have one question.
Sure.
The big one was the changing of the raise and replace.
That was not discussed, and I don't believe there's one for Fall Town. I don't think there's anything on the docket for Fall Town meeting. Are you aware of this stuff?
Is that correct?
Yeah, there was size, changing the size of houses for accessory apartments. There was, what was the other?
Mostly ADUs, there were 4 on ADUs, right?
Yeah.
Was that the one where they come back on the regional plan?
Yeah.
Or do they come back later on?
Yeah.
Well, that would be from members of the public to redo that. I don't know if they have enough time to file.
But I mean, mostly would the ADU thing, question be, what percent of?
So percentage out.
Total.
It was important to Dave, and I see his point. We went to 320 square feet on the side, small side, what, 900 on the top side?
Yeah, whatever the board decides.
But then a limit of the
But there's
total
gonna be a
percentage of
minimum
the-
and a maximum.
No, so you can have, so we said to the board, we agreed, so 320 in the low, 900 on the top. Whether you had a 60,000 square foot house, it's 900 on the top.
What if I had a 2,000 square foot house, could I have?
900.
You can't go, yeah.
Can't go over 900.
You
Can't
don't
go
want,
below
you don't
320.
want, you
But
don't want to.
can go
because-
up to 900 even if your house is only 900.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, the amount
Okay, I'm
of,
just asking.
and we also agreed that, well, we didn't agree. The actual zoning amendment was to allow either primary or secondary in either building, in either residence.
So the owner of the primary could live in the accessory?
Exactly.
I think that's right.
Yeah, and lastly, I think minimum 12 months lease, well, it said 12 months, I said it should be a lease. Tenant at will, 12 months, what's that mean? Well, I agree with Billy, it would be here for 12 months.
Yeah.
That doesn't work, right? So I said you should have a lease.
Exactly.
So those are the comments that we basically made. Makes sense.
Want to do anything on the checklist today?
Well, that's the next thing. I would really like to bring that to the end, and so, you know, if we're there, what I was gonna do is put a checklist together with a signature page at the bottom where an applicant has to sign saying that they've supplied it. I was gonna do that over the weekend, as long as everybody's okay with the checklist.
I'm fine with
I
this.
read it, I like it.
I like it.
Last thing we should discuss is the following. What the authority of this board is. I think the authority of this board is like open book. We're the last line of defense for this community, right? My opinion is as follows. This board has encompassing authority and powers, and I think we should have the right to look at virtually anything. That's my opinion.
You know what, I like the fact that people are beginning to recognize is that we want something to be done about the nitrogen-free system. And we can't force people to do it, but we can push.
Yeah. Well, I guess my point is I'm a guy that goes to a lot of communities in front of a lot of ZBAs, and I can tell you something. I've been in front of ZBAs before, and they're questioning, you know, what size the tree is that was, the Conservation Commission wanted me to plant, and they want to know why I put it there, and they'd rather it put over there. So I can tell you, the authority of this board is pretty encompassing. Oh, it's huge, it's huge.
Absolutely.
And so I guess I'm saying this, as a chair. When I hear somebody or anyone say, well, that's really not our purview, if somebody wants to look at that on the board, I think we should look at it.
We're approving the plan.
Right. And I'm looking at all of us. That's just my opinion.
That's why, on the first one, I did not like the fact that that shed was on that easement.
So let me be devil's advocate.
Sure.
Somebody comes in with a plan that shows their height of their building is 36 feet. They're asking us, they're not talking about the height of their building, they're talking to us about adding a garage, and it's under 174.17, which is change, alteration, or extension.
Yeah.
And we all agree that the change, alteration, or extension is okay, and someone on the board says, but your home is too high, you've got to fix that.
You mean the existing home?
Yeah.
It's a pre-existing non-conforming.
Yeah,
They don't have to
that's
fix it.
existing non-conforming.
Okay.
It can't be, you know?
And what would we not?
Now, we could say, you know, because that home is so high, I'm not liking the addition you're putting on it, because it really extenuates the height of that building, so I'm not gonna approve your addition because that home's too high. Because together, it doesn't make sense.
I don't know if that would hold up if they.
It may not, but I'm just saying that, I don't think
But
we
what's
have.
the difference between that and the existing shed not being in the right spot, although maybe it's just not on the property?
Well,
It's
because,
existing.
Because if it's there for 10 years, I think the shed is a zoning issue.
Yeah.
Chris doesn't think it's a zoning issue, I do, but I think that the one in the easement was a Mass General Law issue more than a zoning issue, but.
My opinion
We've had fences come up, when they come up, the fence is not on the property, well, you have to move the fence.
But
my opinion is as follows. I don't think we had a right to make them move the shed because it's pre-existing non-conforming, but because of our authority and our powers, move the shed, or maybe I'm not voting for it.
I disagree, man, because.
I do too.
I disagree.
So tell me why.
Shed, like ordinarily, this is it, because it's in an easement, it's blocking an easement, you can't have that. So that's a Mass General law.
But David, then we gotta climb into the easement, because the easement might not be an access easement, the easement might be the right to plant tomatoes. I mean, all of a sudden, I gotta review the easement.
You were talking that you want to drive your car down.
Well, yeah, well, because I think it's a paper way. If it's a paper road, it's a different theory. I have a right to drive my car down it. So maybe it makes
So you don't,
Yeah, my opinion, I kind of agree with Dave. If it's on the property and it's non-conforming, existing non-conforming, but that easement isn't on the property. That shed is not on their property. So I think we have a right to say, get it on your property.
I don't think you,
No, the
I
shed
don't
wasn't,
think you
the
can
shed
plant
was on
that
the property.
aphrodite.
No, part of it was on the easement.
Oh, the easement, I see.
Yeah.
Well, the easement
That's
still-
that's the way I
I
look
don't
at
think
it.
you could plant aphrodite
Yeah, no, I get
plants
it.
and block it.
My point is this, I think this board's the end of the road, I know it's the end of the road, right? We make the final call every instance, and that being said, we have the right to question virtually anything.
I think we have a right to question it, it's just a question of we have to agree as a group, do we have the right to?
Well, I agree. I mean, someone could bring up
And
a
that's why
question,
there's
and
five
everybody
votes.
else on the board says, you know what, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah,
I get it.
yeah.
But
That's why there's five people.
but I think the bottom line, though, is what I'm saying is, we can question anything. Whether we vote for or against it is one thing, is another.
I agree. I think we can question anything.
But then you'd be voting for something that wasn't petitioned for.
Yeah, but you know what, if the attorneys who represent the people who come to us know that we are in favor of septic systems of the newer kind rather than the pre-existing kind,
Yeah.
and they know that that's something that we like to see, well, they'll tell their client, you know what the board really likes to
I
have?
agree.
Now, we can't force them to do it, of course, but the fact of the matter is, the Board of Health isn't going to be able to force them to do it for another 2 or 3 years. So why can't we start with us?
Well, that's true, because there's local architects, I see them do it all the time. When they do a raise and replace, they know if they make it a little better, we're gonna be happy.
Right.
It was not conforming before, we made it a little better.
I guess to culminate the conversation, as far as I'm concerned, I think it's an open book of virtually anything. Now, that being said, somebody can raise the issue and the rest of the board can say, you know what, I'm okay with that. All right, fine.
Yeah.
But that's just a good way, I think, to handle a meeting. I mean, I think we should never be in the, we have no control over that. It's not our authority. I think it's a better way is, hey, I believe this is a problem. You don't, I'm outvoted, okay, bye.
I'd be the first one to say, I don't think this is anything to do with us.
If it's on a plan or an answer to a question we don't like or we want to question it, we have a right to question it, whether it's overseen or, or someone, members of the board, majority of the board says, not worried about it, fine.
And I'm more than happy to speak up as one member and say, I don't think there's anything relevant to it.
Exactly.
And that's why the spot was
And
open.
I am too, and I
We have
am the
very
first one
broad
to say,
authority.
if we
We
don't
really
vote for
do.
something because.
Absolutely.
And we have a lot
someone
of
doesn't like
discretion in
the
what we do.
25
But I don't
years
want to nitpick on every little
versus
thing that I
50.
don't think is.
I agree.
Yeah.
I go mostly by the bylaws.
All right. I'd like to have a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Got it. Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
See you later.
Thanks for putting up with me.